Hello, my name is Jon Foster-Pedley. I'm the Dean of Henley Business School in Africa. Henley is part of a large international university, the University of Reading, and Henley is the oldest business school in Europe. And we've been in South Africa for 24 years now. And I want to talk a little bit about what a business school should and shouldn't do. Our biggest challenges in Africa today are to develop skills, to develop confidence, and to create employment. So a business school shouldn't be about slapping a medal on people's chests saying, I have an MBA, I've got this or that qualification. Qualifications are important, but they're only as important as they give the capacity to create value, to create jobs, and to create economic prosperity. We have a motto at Henley, and that is, we build the people who build the businesses that build Africa. I always say that we've confused education with intelligence in Africa. Just because somebody was educated doesn't necessarily, I'm afraid to say, mean that they're enormously intelligent. Probably does. And the obvious is absolutely true. Just because somebody didn't have access to education doesn't make them unintelligent. In fact, what we're finding now is that South Africans and Africans have extraordinary intelligence. We know that from the results of our exams, which are peer-reviewed offshore. In the last exam, we got between a 97 and a 98% pass rate for our exams. These are South Africans, 71% black Africans, 42% women. We have talent, we have intelligence. What we need is skills, and that is what a good business school must bring. Let's for a moment try and imagine the Africa of the future. A transnational Africa, a confident Africa, an Africa that's skilled, not just intelligent, we have that, but we have the skills too. That's what we need to create. And then we will be competitive, and then we will generate the prosperity that will lift people up, educate them, and continue to build this extraordinary continent. Building prosperity means being creative. Africa is built largely on extractive industries, digging things out of the ground and selling them, or agriculture, or manufacturing to some degree. That creates relatively narrow economies. What we need to do is diversify. We need to embrace the creative. We need to embrace innovation, because that is what will build the economies that are going to take our children to a new future. Now, creativity isn't something that's for ad agencies or musicians or for street performers or for strange people on the edge of society. Creativity lives in the center of society. It lives in the center of business. It is creativity that builds new societies, that builds new businesses, new forms of value. But we have to get used to learning it again. Great education inspires the creativity in people as well as the analysis. And that is what we can do in Africa. We have the talent and the intelligence. What we need to do is create new forms of education that lift people and support new forms of ventures and new forms of commerce that create the prosperity that we need. People often say you can't learn creativity, you have to be born with it. I say that's nonsense. In fact, what happens is you are born creative. What happens is you lose it as you get educated and you grow up if you don't watch out. So we can recover it. People often think that creativity is dangerous and risky. I would say that the alternative is riskier. Being conservative in a fast-moving world, a reinventing world, that's dangerous. You will always be behind the drag curve. We need to learn to use our imagination to create the diversified societies and economies that will take us into the future. So a great education and great executive education and a great business school will be as creative as it is rigorous, as interpretative as it is analytical. So who builds this leadership and this creativity in our businesses? Well, there's only us. We can look to government, but government can only do so much. We are the leaders now. We are the people who have to create this future. Us, as students, as business leaders, as people in society. If we don't do it, nobody will. So one of the great challenges of being creative is that you have to step up to it. I have to step up to it. And that's nerve-wracking. And one of the challenges also is how to get over those nerves and get used to acting in the face of uncertainty, because creativity can't predetermine its own outcomes. Creativity is by nature creative. The outcomes will be new to you, and to some degree we will discover them as we go forward with some courage to try and create better alternatives. So let's throw aside this idea of these marginal creatives or this dangerous creativity. Reclaim it for ourselves. Our minds, our hearts, in fact our whole lives are based in creativity. There's a famous Harvard Business School professor called Michael Porter who said there are two secrets to competitiveness. One is productivity, the other is innovation. We're great at learning about productivity, but what about innovation? It's equally as important. We at Henley Business School are focused on developing innovative offerings for executives so that their companies can grow. At Henley Business School, our success is not the number of people who get the badges of MBAs or qualifications. Our success is how well those people build better companies and better organizations, how well those companies and organizations build our society, how well our society grows in optimism. For leadership is based in optimism, as is learning. And optimism is really important. I don't mean some vague optimism living in some Pollyanna-ish world. I'm talking about an optimism that's based in reality. We cannot afford to be cynical either in learning or in leadership. We have to erase it from our minds. We cannot afford to be pessimistic either about ourselves or about our companies or about Africa. The time for Afro-pessimism is long dead and gone. We have to maintain an optimism now, an optimism that's going to take us through some really hard times, and an optimism that will give us the discipline to go through difficult learning processes, to develop our skills and see that sort of society we want to build. So how can we learn optimism? How can we learn creativity? Well, it's simply through practice. We simply have to practice. There is no guidebook, there's no manual that's going to do that. There's nobody behind us who's going to do it for us either. It's our time. We have to make the choice to build what we want to build in Africa, and we can. And I think sometimes, because we're so well educated in the skills of organization and project management and finance, that being creative can seem really unsettling, dangerous even. When we go out there and start imagining, it's as if everything's going to fall apart and there's no controls or rigor. Similarly, if we spend all our time just analyzing problems and seeing what's going on, our vision becomes limited. So it looks like we have to do two things. One is we have to diverge, go out there and imagine. And the other thing is we have to converge, make sense of it all. And the big secret to that is you have to do them in sequence, not at the same time. It's a bit like breathing. You breathe in and you breathe out. You breathe out and then you breathe in again. You can't do those at the same time, can you? So what's the relevance of all this to me and to you? Well, I think the relevance is that learning never finishes. Our whole lives are learning these days. You can't just go to university and expect that to last through your career. What we have to do now is be excellent learners, because it's only the ability to learn that takes us through complicated and difficult times. And that's what a good business school does. It doesn't just teach content and theory. More importantly, it teaches how to learn. If you learn well, you can overcome any problems in the future. Education isn't just about filling people up, it's about setting them alight. So my friendly challenge to you and to me is to make your life a life of learning. How can we continually learn more? It's only by doing that that we will create the value that creates the businesses that will create this great Africa that we're in the process of building. So if you're choosing a business school, either to study at or as a partner, think what you need. The most important thing for that business school is that it has a passion for learning and a deep belief in people and maintains an optimism in the face of difficult times. Choose a business school that's going to partner you and that is interested and finds excitement and fun in the challenge of educating.